Hello. Thank you all for joining me. We're starting in John chapter 8, verse 12. Let's read the whole passage, then cover it. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." The Pharisees challenged him. "Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid." Jesus answered, "Even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid, for I know where I came from and where I am going. But you have no idea where I came from or where I am going. You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge, my decisions are right, because I am not alone. I stand with the Father who sent me. In your own law it is written that the testimony of two men is valid. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me." Then they asked him, "Where is your Father?" "You do not know me or my Father," Jesus replied. "If you knew me, you would know my Father also." He spoke these words while teaching in the temple area near the place where the offerings were put. Yet no one seized him, because his time had not yet come. This seems like good timing on Jesus' part, because in the Feast of Tabernacles, a big part of it was remembering that God gave them light in their wilderness trial. When Jesus says he is the light of the world, he is saying he is God, and that he will help us now, just like he helped them then. The Pharisees want to turn the people away from Jesus. Back then, there had to be two witnesses for anything to become fact. It often made things difficult, but to be fair, the Pharisees probably didn't always use that because it could be too difficult, and they just wanted to get their way no matter what method they had to use. But they saw a good opportunity here to use it because they had to get Jesus at all costs. Jesus says that God is the second witness. They either did not know he was talking about God or they didn't want to believe what he was talking about. Jesus basically said that they don't even know who God is. They really didn't, did they? Their concept of him was corrupted. But still, it's also about how Jesus is the only way to the Father. His relationship with us is the reason that we get to one day be in the presence of the Father. Now let's read the next passage, verse 21. Once more Jesus said to them, "I am going away, and you will look for me, and you will die in your sin. Where I go, you cannot come." This made the Jews ask, "Will he kill himself? Is that why he says, 'Where I go, you cannot come'?" But he continued, "You are from below, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. I told you that you would die in your sins. If you do not believe that I am the one I claim to be, you will indeed die in your sins." "Who are you?" they asked. "Just what I have been claiming all along," Jesus replied. "I have much to say in judgment of you, but he who sent me is reliable, and what I have heard from him I tell the world." They did not understand that he was telling them about his Father, so Jesus said, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am the one I claim to be, and that I do nothing on my own but speak just what the Father has taught me. The one who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him." Even as he spoke, many put their faith in him. Jesus knew that some of his accusers were not going to heaven. He didn't say this to the whole crowd, but just the ones with hardened hearts. But in all fairness, it also serves as a warning for all that to live in sin is to die in sin. And as many times before, he uses phrases such as "I am" to proclaim who he is. The "I am" is a sacred term for God, but the Pharisees still question who he is, not because he hasn't let them know, but because they just can't bring themselves to believe. If you don't believe that Jesus is the Christ, then yeah, it would be a mystery what he is. A concept from the book More Than a Carpenter is that Jesus was either a liar, a lunatic, or the Lord. You'll have to read that book to get the full idea, but Josh McDowell goes through why Jesus couldn't have been lying, and he couldn't have been a lunatic. And once you realize that, but still don't believe that Jesus is Lord, then you will be confused. That's why once you believe, he makes sense. He just quickly mentions that his accusers have many sins that he won't get into right then, which is funny. And he says that the only things that he has said have come from the Father. That seems kind of obvious because it would make sense since the Father and the Son kind of share the same mind, but the Holy Trinity can be confusing sometimes. Either way, Jesus was in complete obedience to God, and interestingly, when he says, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am the one I claim to be, and that I do nothing on my own but speak just what the Father has taught me." When he says that, he's referring to being lifted on the cross. Basically, that his sacrifice is what will prove that he is who he says he is. True. Without Jesus' sacrifice, what he says wouldn't really matter, but it does because he made the sacrifice. And many put their faith in him, so make sure that you put your faith in him as well, because Jesus is victorious. And even though it seems like you've only been a failure, if you follow him, you are actually victorious. Thanks for listening, guys.